Hello guys, welcome back to my lessons. Today we're going to talk about the topic of genetics, and this topic it talks about characteristics or traits. For an example, being tall, being short, having big eyes, having small eyes, having brown eyes, having black eyes, the color of your skin, being light skinned, being dark skinned. Those are the characteristics we talk about. So for you to end up having those characteristics is because of your genes, right? Hence genetics. So the first thing you need to know is the key concepts in this topic: genetic crosses, which involves monohybrid cross and a dihybrid cross. We have a complete dominance, an incomplete dominance, codominance, inheritance of sex-linked characteristics, dihybrid cross, mutations, pedigree diagrams, genetic engineering, and genetic counseling. If you know all these things, then you can be able to answer all the questions in this topic. So the first thing, let's look at key concepts. So these key concepts won't only help you to answer the questions in biological terms. They'll also help you to answer the questions in this topic when we are doing the crossings, right? Or when we are answering pedigree diagrams questions. So the first keyword is phenotype. This is an individual's observable trait such as height, eye color, blood type. So what you can see, the height of this person, tall, that is their phenotype, the tall. Eye color, brown. Brown is the phenotype of the eye color, of their eye color. Blood group A. Blood group A is the phenotype of their blood group. Phenotype can also be defined as the physical appearance, right, of an organism. So it will help you to answer biological terms. An allele, what is an allele? This is a different form of a gene which occur at the same locus on homologous chromosomes. So this will help you to also answer biological terms, right? Allele. But what's going to help you to answer questions like crossings and pedigree diagram questions is that an allele is letters, big letters and small letters. But what do these letters represent? They represent the phenotypes, the characteristics. For an example, being tall can be represented by letter T. They will say being tall is controlled by an allele T. What is an allele for being tall? It is T, because they've told you in the statement that is controlled by an allele T. So let's move on to dominant allele and recessive allele. Dominant alleles are the big letters, recessive alleles are the small letters. Alleles are all the letters, but dominant allele specifically is the big letters. Recessive allele specifically is the small letters, right? So now, a dominant alleles, if they tell you in the statement, being tall is controlled by a dominant allele T. What is the allele for being tall? That is capital letter T. Because why? The dominant allele is capital letters, and they said capital letter T. If they say being tall is controlled by a recessive allele T, what is the answer? Small letter T. Because they said it is controlled by what? By a recessive allele. So always, dominant alleles are big letters, recessive alleles are small letters, always. What is a genotype? A genotype is an individual's collection of genes. The term also can refer to the two alleles inherited for a particular gene, right? So this is for your biological term. Dominant allele, a variation of a gene that will produce a certain phenotype even in presence of other alleles. Recessive allele, a variety of genetic code that does not create a phenotype in a dominant allele if a dominant allele is present. So you need to know those things by heart, right? But then for you to be able to answer pedigree diagrams and crossings, dominant alleles are the big letters, recessive alleles are the small letters. Genotype is two letters together, right? Genotype could be two big letters together, a big letter and a small letter, and two small letters. So what does two big letters mean? It means homozygous dominant. Homozygous means the same, dominant, big letter. The same two big letters, homozygous dominant. Homozygous recessive, the same small letters. Recessive small letters. Homozygous, the same. the same small letters, small t and a small t. Heterozygous means a big letter and a small letter, but of the same letter. It could be a capital letter and a small letter, could be a big G and a small g. So that is heterozygous. It is a genotype that is in heterozygous condition. So let's move to crossing. In human, the ability to roll a tongue is due to a dominant allele. So a characteristic that we're talking about here is being able to roll the tongue. Since they're talking about being able to roll the tongue, it means we'll also talk about not being able to roll a tongue. And then being able to roll a tongue is controlled by which allele? A capital letter, a dominant allele. And then not being able to roll a tongue, it's obvious that it is recessive over the being able to roll the tongue. So let's see if they've given us the symbols they want us to use. A man who is heterozygous for tongue rolling and a woman who cannot roll her tongue have children. Use the symbol T and T for the alleles of the tongue rolling characteristic. So they've given us a symbol T that we must use. So it means that for being able to roll a tongue, the allele is the big letter. Not being able to roll a tongue, the allele is the small letter. So because the question says represent a genetic cross to determine the possible genotypes and phenotypes of their children, they want to see if their children will be able to roll their tongue or not. Now what do? This is out of 6 marks. You write P1 and then you write next to P1 you write phenotype. Under phenotype you write genotype. Under genotype meiosis you write gametes, you write fertilization, you write F1 genotype, and then the last one is phenotype. So you need to make sure that you know this thing by heart. From P1 to phenotype there at F1, you need to know it by heart. Nobody's going to give you this in your examination. And then what do you do now? You substitute. On phenotype, what is the phenotype for the man? The phenotype for the man, they said that he is heterozygous tongue rolling, meaning he can roll her tongue. So he's a what? A tongue roller. Multiply by the man, the woman. The woman cannot roll her tongue. She is a non-tongue roller. And then now let's substitute their genotypes. The man is heterozygous for tongue rolling. Heterozygous means what? It means a capital letter and a small letter. Hence, I wrote the big letter and a small letter. The woman cannot roll her tongue at all. So the woman is homozygous recessive. She cannot be heterozygous because if she becomes a heterozygous, then she would be able to roll her tongue because the big letter will override the recessive allele. So she is small letter t, small letter t. And then we have meiosis. Meiosis, you don't write anything. Gametes, you take those genotypes, you just put commas in between. And then fertilization, you write nothing. Now for the genotypes of the F1 generation, F1 means that the children, the genotype of their children, you're going to take the first big T, combine it with the first T of the mother. The first T of the father combined with the first T of the mother. That is capital letter T and a small letter t. The first T of the father combined with the last T of the mother. That is capital letter T and a small letter t. And then you combine the second T of the father and the first T of the father. It gives you two small letters T's. And then the second T of the father combined with the last T of the mother, it will give you two small T's. And then what does a capital letter T and a small letter t mean? It means tongue rolling because it's heterozygous. Why is it a tongue roller, although it has the allele of non-tongue rolling? Because in heterozygous condition, the phenotype is going to be for the dominant allele. You don't check the recessive allele when writing the phenotype for a heterozygous condition. And then the second one is heterozygous, also a big letter T and a small letter t. That is also tongue roller. And then the third genotype is small letter t, small letter t. What is the phenotype for that? That is non-tongue roller. And then the small letter t, small letter t, what is the phenotype for that? Is non-tongue roller. Because there is no dominant allele there. Because being able to roll a tongue, if you are able to roll your tongue, you must have a big allele. You must have a dominant allele. So let's move on to the next question. a homozygous snapdragon plant with red flowers, right? So they just said homozygous, the same what? The same dominant or recessive. It's dominant because the R there in brackets is capital letter. So here we already know that the red flowers are dominant because of the capital letter. It was crossed with a pollinated. It was pollinated with a homozygous snapdragon plant with white flowers. Homozygous, the same again, but is it recessive or dominant? The white flowers, they are also dominant. And then all the plants that grew from the cross had pink flowers. So their offsprings, they had what? Pink flowers. The first parent had red flowers. The second parent had white flowers. When they cross-pollinated, their offsprings had what? Pink flowers. So they say represent the cross to show possible genotypes and phenotypes of the F1 generation of plants. So both the traits are dominant. So you write the sequence again: P1 next to P1 phenotype, genotype, meiosis, gametes, fertilization, F1 genotype, phenotype. You need to know this by heart. I told you nobody will give you in the examination. And then you substitute phenotype. We are crossing what? A red flowers and white flowers. And then what is their genotype? Because they are all homozygous dominant, we write a capital letter R multiplied by capital letter W, capital letter W. Meiosis, you write nothing. Gametes, you just write the genotypes, you put commas in between. Fertilization, there's nothing. F1, the genotype for the offsprings. You combine the first R, right, with the first W. And then the first R with the second W. And then the second R with the first W. The second R with the second W. That's how you do the crossing. And then you write the phenotype. What is the phenotype for RW? It cannot be red because the phenotype for red is capital letter RR, for white is capital letter WW. So it is pink because in the statement we were given another phenotype which is pink. So RW combined together is pink. So this type of a cross is called an incomplete dominance. An incomplete dominance. So the one we talked about, the inhuman the ability to roll the tongue. This one is complete dominance. The reason they call it complete dominance, because the offsprings, all of them, they took one parent's trait. For an example, some can roll their tongue. They took the trait of the father. Some cannot roll their tongue. They will take the trait of of the mother. So it's complete, right? They completely took the trait of one parent. So now on this side, this is an incomplete. It's incomplete because they did not completely take the trait of one parent, but everyone has a new trait, right, which is pink, a new characteristic, a new phenotype, meaning a combination of the mother and the father, right? That is pink. So let's go to the next cross. A plant with white flowers was cross-pollinated with a plant with red flowers. All plants that grew from the cross had flowers with equal distribution of red and white color. So they're saying that a white flowers plant and a red flowers plant, they were crossed together, and the offsprings had the flowers that had white and red. So maybe white, the flower was red with white spots, represent a genetic cross. Again, you write P1 next to P1 phenotype, under phenotype genotype, under genotype meiosis, under meiosis gametes, under gametes fertilization, genotype, phenotype. You need to know that by heart. Substitute, we're crossing a red and a white flower. And then their genotype, they are both dominant, right? They're both dominant. That is capital letter R, capital letter R, capital letter W, capital letter W. And then meiosis, you write nothing. Gametes, you write the genotypes. You put a comma in the middle. Fertilization, you write nothing, but this is the process of fertilization that I'm going to do here. You take the first R and the first W, put them together, you write them. It's going to be RW. And then the first R again with the second W now, not with the first W, that is RW. Now you take the second R, you combine it with the first W, you get RW. And then the second R with the last R, with the last W, that is RW. But then what is going to be the phenotypes? Did they tell us the phenotype in the statement? They told us that all plants that grew from the cross had flowers with equal distribution of red and white color. So the phenotype is equal distribution of red and white color, right? So this type of dominance is codominance. Codominance is not completely a new phenotype like in incomplete dominance, but you can see the traits of the mother and of the parents in the same phenotype, in the phenotype of the offspring, right? So the flower would both be red and white, so it will have a red color and a white color. So that is codominance. So we'll stop here, and please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I hope you understand, and we'll continue from here to inheritance of sex-linked characteristics, dihybrid cross mutation, pedigree diagrams, genetic engineering, and genetic counseling. I think now you understand how the keywords are important. The alleles, knowing that they are letters, genotype, dominant alleles, understanding their big letters, recessive alleles, understanding that they're small letters. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it.